Mm, type something. They now have merch, is what Streamlabs said. Oh, there we go. We want to thank our amazing producer who was trained for this last minute, and without this game would not be possible. We are freaking excited. Hello, I'm Rara. I'll be your GM for this series over here at Nerds with Dice. Before we start, they've got merch. Who doesn't love merch? Raise your hand if you don't love merch. Put your hand down, Adam. You can find those links in chat or by going to Nerds with Dice on Twitter. We're going to get right into things tonight. So I would love to a brief introduction into this wonderful table we have put together before you. Give me your real name and who you're playing in this imaginary fun party zone. Let's start with Selena.
Of course. Hi, I'm Selena. I use any and all pronouns, and I will be playing Adrian Alredine. He is they. They use they them pronouns, and they are a smart sage that speaks in tongues.
Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're gonna go over to Todd. Todd, who are you?
Hi, I'm Tot, and I'm going to be playing Cambry Walker on this fine Friday evening. Cambry is a driven explorer who calls home the hounds.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh, we got Adam. Adam, who are you? What's your name?
Hi there, I'm Adam. I'm playing Eden Ed Woodlow. And Ed is a tongue-tied explorer who walks these woods.
Beautiful. Miss Abilene, could you tell us about yourself real quick?
Hello. I am Taz, and I'm playing Miss Abilene. I am a curious explorer who shares the ways and the signs.
Let's roll to see if Kim gets a turn.
We'll see.
Kim, you get a turn. That was a
Thank
6.
goodness. Hi, I'm Kim, she, her pronouns. I'm playing Ellen Yoko, also she, her pronouns, and she is a creative speaker who makes a high lonesome sound.
Beautiful. Feral Moonbeam, if you're watching this, could you bring me a handkerchief from my eyes when I start crying? Thank you so much. I've got some content warnings for you tonight. On that note, we've got unreliable narrator, fear, possible physical harm with potential gore, implied harm to animals in the form of hunting and fishing. There will be no descriptions under that. Death, possible violence, possible body horror, possible gore, and definitely some profanity. So take fucking care of yourself. We're going to be playing a little slice of life horror game. So things could get a little intense, but they could also get very boring depending on what my party chooses to do. So let's see. I promise you, we're going to have a good time. How's everyone feeling?
Woo!
So ready.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you and let you try that again in a second. We're also taking donations to help out with hurricane relief. So there should be a link somewhere, visible or findable if you're smart and curious.
There's a QR code.
Beautiful, right there. If you donate tonight, you'll be entered into a raffle to win a PDF of the Old Gods of Appalachia system, which is a beautiful book, even in the PDF form. Trust me, it's the only one I have. I think that's everything that I was. Oh, thank you so much, Farrell. Look it. She sent me a handkerchief. I think I'm ready. Are we all ready? Let's go, but let's try that again. How's everyone feeling? Are we good to do this?
Woo!
Oh, come on. We've got listeners. Be respectful. God. All right. Well, let's get going, everybody. Oh, one more thing for our listeners. When the players are dreaming, they remember being awake. But when they are awake, they do not remember dreaming. Let's hold them to that. Before our story begins, an older story continues. We see flashes across our vision of a door closing, of a pear perfectly sliced in half, of an open grave. But when we return to focus, none of us, not you, not me, not any of these readers here enjoying our story, are in our own body. We are all moving in one Someone else says, maybe this is a dream. Maybe it's not a dream, but it is something. We see a beautiful space. Perhaps the center of a geode, or were they berry stars that have shone for too long, too brightly? It's about the size of a barn, but made out of gems, of ore that seems to glow, of precious minerals and the songs of a pure heart. You all see it through the same eyes that are not your own. You all look to the left and the right, but it's not your own. Thank you. Beyond beautiful, there is not much else here. You see what looks like an old house, an old shack in the middle of this space, but long collapsed, flat, ruined. There is no entrance, there is no open door. You would assume that you're looking at the back of what was once a home. You're sure that this is the entrance for family, for friends, but not for you. This isn't a place for you. Let me roll a die real quick. Adrian, Albadine, you cannot control this body, but there is a story here. When this form entered this space and started to move around the house, do you think they went to the left or the right?
I went to the right.
They certainly did. Of course they did. It couldn't be any other way. The steps are light, they're not hurried or heavy footed. All of our eyes, all of our eyes look to the beautiful cavern, to the ruined home, and we look to our own hands. I'm going to roll a die. Miss Abilene, hello. Uh, you cannot control this body, but you do see thin fingers, tan, possibly from the sun. Sleeve is a light brown material with a beautiful little ruffle around the cuff. You might assume it's some sort of dress. You also see scars all over the hands. What do they look like they're from?
They almost look like they're from clawing at themselves.
That's true. Set in stone. Forever. They look like they've been clawed on by themselves, and the space opens as we move. The cavern itself remains incandescent and wonderful, but not much else changes within it. As we scoot around this building, we see what you'd assume is the front yard. We see a tree, not overly large, 15, 16 feet or so. A two-story house would be higher. You see fruit. From this distance, it looks like a mango in shape, but it has this rich burgundy color to the skin and a mucus of sorts, dripping heavy and hanging in the air, wet with the dew of heaven, possibly. Our eyes go down for a moment. It was a dress. Miss Abilene, you were correct. We see the dress now, and pointed black boots, sharp and well kept. I have to roll the dice. Oh, Ed. Oh, Ed. In this moment, as we've rounded the house and we see this tree, Ed, all of us see this tree. Down by a boot, we also see a folded piece of paper, kind of blowing in an unfelt wind. Do you think, or do you remember, if they reached down and grabbed that paper, or did they just continue on their way?
I think we grabbed. I think I reached down and grabbed it.
Well, I mean, of course we did.
Yeah.
The hands reach down with the scars across them that look as though they pulled at themselves. And you pick this up. Do you think we read it right now, Adam? Ed, sorry, Ed.
100%.
All it says was it was a tree. Simple, no punctuation even. Imagine that. Ellen Yoko. That phrase, it was a tree. When we hear it in this space, because we certainly did, we all did, Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
Did we hear it as a whisper or as a song sung from the darkness?
As a song sung from the darkness.
That is how they told the story. That is how everyone recalled this tale being presented to them. We hear whispered from a wall, from a hole too small, maybe the size of an elephant's disappointment or a lumberjack's big breakfast. It's not a large size. That this song comes winding winding out to us, and we just hear it was a tree being sung from places hidden and mysterious. As we move closer, we hear a sound, like the sound of landing, like somebody hopping from a foot to the other. Maybe they're happy, maybe they're on fire. But as we get closer, we see a small boy underneath this tree. He's got dimples and a messy head of hair and no shoes, and he's jumping up, trying to grab one of these dangerously moist dark mangoes. Beautiful. Cambry. Cam, which would you prefer to be addressed by?
Cam is fine.
Wonderful. If you were to remember or recall or just guess, in this moment, do you think we reached out our scarred hands and pulled off a piece of this beautifully damp fruit and handed it to the boy, or do you think we kept it to ourselves?
I think we handed it to the boy.
I mean, we probably would,
We
wouldn't we?
probably would, of course.
Beautiful. The smile as a bite is about to be taken blurs into the background as we see our own scarred hands, thick with this mucus, this liquid that smells so rich of summer and honey. It's almost intoxicating. Before we leave this place, I'm sorry, dear players, while you're all so safe here, do you think you could all close your eyes for me for just a moment? You're fine. No one's watching. You're tucked in safely. Um, while we're there with this material on our fingers, would you raise your hand if you thought that we tasted it, and leave your hand down if it was just the scent? You may all put your hands down. Wonderful job, everybody. The sun rises, as it always does, over New Spring, West Virginia, 1899. A small and isolated community attempting to rebuild modern civilization over the ruins of a failed attempt from a few decades back. It's a small settlement, 50 people or so call it home, with another 50 living in the surrounding region. There's a lumber yard, a watering hole, a school, a church, a few shops. There is guilt and blood covered hands, and there's a yogurt place they're hoping to build soon. Recently, we even opened up a clinic. Sure, this town is on the mend, and the brightest days are still to come. We smell cornflower and bloodroot. We see sugar maple and yellow birch trees comfortable in the first autumn light as a small breeze arrives only to touch and never bother. We see it pass like a joy over this town, the morning light. Our first stop goes further. We follow that light outside of town. We cross invisible borders of New Spring and head west through the woods and fauna. But it's not far. We see Spirit River and we can hear Souls Fall, the waterfall not far from there. Eden Ed Woodlow. As we and our brave readers approach your space, your home so respectively, before we see you, what do we see?
I think there is what most would consider a rundown shack of a home. Almost maybe the size of like 3.5 porta potties.
That big.
Small, put together, kind of everything's just on its last leg, creaky and old, and kind of defying the odds in how it sits in the mud and dirt that it's surrounded by, and kind of continues to exist in that way. And I think it is covered in trinkets and small critter skeletons and hides that are either drying or out for decoration, and just sort of reeks of moss and unswept floor, and it's just lightly on a tilt.
Do you feel any affinity with a place that's just holding its own in the mud regardless?
Obviously. I think undoubtedly, right?
If you had to measure your heart in porta potties, how many would it be?
2.
Fair. And when we see you in this space, what are you doing? What do you look like in the morning? You're awake before anyone today, actually, Ed.
Um, Ed is doing what he always does. He's fishing. It's early. You get the best fish early in the morning. They're still out. I almost EM, like just off of PM into EM, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and then even into that. So I think where we're at now, with the sun kind of on its rise, Ed is probably close to wrapping up his daily fishing, and he has probably on his hip one, he's wearing these kind of like large oversized coveralls or overalls with really high tattered boots to ensure that not too much water and mud get into his socks and into his pants.
So he does wear socks. That was actually going to be my next question, if he was barefoot or not.
Yeah, he likes socks. I think he especially likes the feeling of wet socks. You know, and currently he has on his hip attached a small collection of different fish that you could catch in our local lake and by our local falls, and they're scaled and gutted already. The job's been done, and I think he's currently just putzing about, if you will. And I think maybe he's even kind of looking at his little collection here, and he's like, well, the damn things just keep getting harder and harder to catch, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. And he's putzing about, talking to himself in only the way a man who lives on the outskirts of town can, I think.
And as you are finishing cleaning up some of the morning catch, a small silver ring tumbles out of future lunch or dinner and lands near your sock wearing feet. It's not overly elaborate. It's just a simple silver band with what looks like a little sunflower, where someone would have like a gem on a more expensive ring. It could maybe fit your pinky, but it's definitely not meant for your hands.
Oh, wonderful. I think he picks it up, and so his hair is kind of shaggy and unkempt, but relatively short, except for a longer, like braid rat tail he has. And on said thing, said rat tail, he has a fishing lure, and I
Oh
think
no.
that he affixes this ring to that same area, and he's like, "Love my trinkets," and he kind of shakes out the fish some more. Like, come on, give it all. And then I think even like, oh, all right, that's it. Okay.
All right. As you remove your fingers from this delicate fish, what are you about today? Do you stay out here? Are you headed into town? Or do you have things to do before we maybe relocate and meet one of your other companions?
Um, I think that Ed is going to head home and quickly brush off some of the gunk that has gotten on him, not efficiently. And he's going to pseudo wrap a lot of the fish and maybe salt other chunks of the fish and bring them into town to see if he can maybe, if he can't sell a couple of fish for the day.
Ed, the pseudo rapper, begins making his way into town. Our view changes. We pull back and go not too far, not as far as the town. We're going to one of the many trails that exists between the river and the town, where we're going to find Cam Walker. We're in the woods. It's quiet. It's morning. We see a form and a small friend next to them moving on all fours. Cam, what do we see when we see you?
Um, well, you see a young woman, hair pulled back out of her face. She's got hunting rifle in her hands and Bullet by her side, her adorable little black hunting dog. Um, they are just the best of friends, those two. They are together all the time. So this is a pretty common sight if anyone were to stumble into the woods, perhaps another hunter or someone just trying to get some fresh air. Not that the air isn't fresh. this time of history, of course.
Beautiful. Do you take these walks for any purpose in the morning, or is this just a normal how you start your day, or are you hunting while the sun's coming up?
There are certain animals that tend to be a little bit more lethargic in this early in the morning. Uh, Animals that are nocturnal and are starting to get ready for bed, which happens to be the best time to hunt them, of course. I do have to make a living.
Are you trained in any sort of tracking or hunting or woodlandry?
Well, as a matter of fact, I am trained in mapping, and I have spent quite some time extensively mapping these woods.
Would you like to give me the first roll from one of the players to see what you notice on this trail based on your knowledge from having mapped this trail before?
Absolutely, I would.
You're trying to hit six
Trying to hit six with
Mhm.
a D20,
with D4.
D4.
Just
Trying to hit a
kidding.
six with
Just kidding.
D4. God, imagine. Now that would be quite the. Well, I hit a 5.
Beautiful. There are things that go unseen, but there's also things that are seen. Don't worry about that. You see some bare feet prints as though someone was running around the trail at one point, but they went towards the town and away from the town a little bit after, as though they went both directions. That's not a very uncommon thing.
Mhm.
But with a five, that seems to be the best news these trees will tell you this morning. Even Bullet's looking at you a little disappointed.
Well, that's not uncommon.
And here in this space, in this forest, as you're moving your way through it, what is Cam's favorite part of being in the deep wood?
The quiet, I think. How at peace everything seems to be, but the knowing that there's always something under the surface. People are complicated. You never really know what they have beneath them, but the woods are the woods. Once you've spent enough time in them, you get a sense of the nature of things.
You hear the sound of someone else moving down the path. It doesn't sound like feet. No, these feet have socks on them. Wet fisherman socks. As
Oh,
we see Ed having made his way to about halfway to town, now encountering yourself and Bullet out in this place.
mm-hmm.
Do you all
I,
like each other?
I don't see why we wouldn't like each other, but I
Hmm.
imagine Bullet is fonder of Ed than I am, given
The
the
smell.
smell.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Cam, how are you? And I'm gonna unhitch a fish and toss it to Bullet.
I'm doing just fine, Ed. How are you this morning?
Oh well, damn thing's running out. I swear I get less and less fish every day. Any anything good? Did you catch anything good? Did you find anything good in this beautiful morning?
Well, so far the only thing I've caught is you, but fortunately,
Oh well, you shouldn't eat me.
I'm not planning on it. No, it's been a very quiet morning this morning. I'm glad to see that you at least were able to bring something into town.
Yes, it was an incredibly quiet morning, and I was thinking about that while I was fishing, and I have
Hmm.
my moments where I have to sit in silence, and then after I get out of the silence, I get to talk a little bit. And those moments when I'm fishing, I just get to sit in silence. And here I am talking to you, and oh, he's finished up the fish. He ate the bones. Is that okay? I don't have
But
one of my own.
I'm sure Bullet will be just fine. Thank you for your generosity. I'm sure you're not his favorite at all. Thank you, Ed. Are you heading into town? I haven't had much luck here, so I might head back with you.
I am, but I feel like you're just on the brink of something. Why don't you keep going?
Oh, you think I'm? Are you sure about that?
I can smell it.
Are you sure that's not just you?
Positive.
All right, Ed. I do trust your perception when it comes to making a good catch. So maybe
That
maybe
is
you're right.
my whole thing.
That's your whole thing.
It is.
Um, I'll hang back a little while longer. You go on ahead to town. Stay safe. You know how
Of
these woods can be.
course. And
Does Bullet follow Ed, or does Bullet stay with Cam?
Bullet follows Ed for like a little, like just just like, oh, are you gonna give me another fish? And then when Ed does not give another fish, Bullet comes right back.
yeah.
Beautiful. And our camera pulls back, seeing the form of Bullet running from one to the other, and the sigh of Cam as Ed continues in the wet socks to make their way towards town. We grow and zoom over these trees and go a little bit down the road where we see an old schoolhouse, brick and patchwork together to be warm enough and dry enough, located on the east side of New Spring. There's a small lot for it, where space for the children to play in a little shed in the back, separate from the main building. Be on your best behavior as we look through this window, dear readers. Miss Abilene, what do we see when we see you?
Well, you see Abilene Wolf, who is known amongst her students and peers as Miss Abilene, standing behind her shabby wooden desk, finalizing her lesson plans for the day. She's young, in her early 20s, with wavy ash brown hair pinned back into a loose bun. A few of her waves resist and fall out against her cheeks. She has hazel eyes with little specks of amber kind of glowing within them. Uh, with one hand, she's juggling thick, worn textbooks against her plaid jumper, and in the other, she holds a porcelain teacup half full with room temperature green tea. And she walks through the aisles of desks, placing a slate and piece of chalk on each one for students to work on.
As you were cleaning these earlier this morning, some of the drawings or markings left from yesterday, you're not sure which student's slate it was, but there was a beautiful rendition. Like, you should be teaching art classes. This kid drew so well. It almost looked like the perspective of like looking down a tunnel or a well, and somebody was looking up and saw these heads like staring down at him. Beautiful use of shadow and depth. That's it. It wasn't anything overly special, but for the first time, you might have an artist in this town. We don't have one yet. So make note of it. How is your first week of being a teacher in New Spring gone?
It's been amazing. The students have been very kind, which is not always something that I'm used to in the past schools that I've taught at. Um, they
Do the
seem
kids
to
pick on you?
in no, but I I'm only 22, so I've been pretty close in age with a lot of my students, and they tend to see me as more of a classmate than a teacher.
And then there's those few that consider you an old maid for not having 12 kids yet at 22. This town's really divided with the progressive youth and the traditional older folks. Um, Go ahead.
Well, if I got married, they'd have to find a new teacher.
True.
So
Tomorrow is the first fall dance, Miss Abilene. Did you have the students do anything fun this week leading up to it? Is there any fun projects or anything of that sort?
we had a lot of fun sitting in a prayer circle, reading Bible verses to prepare for how we should behave at the dance this weekend.
Perfect. Wonderful. Incredibly fun. These thoughts of joy are interrupted by the sound of a bagpipe coming from out on the street. You have one of the more insulated buildings in town when you're in the schoolhouse. And if you were to look through one of the few perfect glass windows this place has to offer, you'd see a small parade procession down the street, some pallbearers carrying a casket and a bagpipe player behind them. You'd remember that there was an accident at like the logging yard, a common story in this town, and a young man was smashed. So you see a few people kind of trailing out as it's working through the town. Being such a small community, most would know the young man, but you're fairly new. but that's what you'd assume is going on. Some people watch from their porches, and other people kind of go out and join the procession, but it's slowly moving itself through these muddy and dirty streets. We pull back once again as we see Miss Albeline, if I may assume, maybe going to the door and even opening it to look at what's happening from the schoolhouse. Not too far from there is a clinic. A brand new clinic, uh, even warmer and drier than the school because our health is more important than our children. Adrian Albadine, what do we see when we see you?
Um, Adrian has just been interrupted from a project that they were working on, with the bagpipes not being used to the sound and knowing that what that means, and they just very gently, they have like these very precise tools, and they had like this crazy glasses set on their face while they were working. Take that off, put their normal glasses on, and you see a very androgynous figure, um, dark blue eyes. There's a little scar on their left eyebrow. Um, brown tousled hair, uh, wearing a suit, like, or white dress shirt with a vest and very pristine bow tie. The sleeves are a little wrinkled and rolled up to their elbow. They're not the cleanest, but the tie is pristine. And they like getting up from their work, open the window and stick their head out to see this procession.
And as you stick your head out, you actually disturb someone who appears as though they were walking up to knock on your door. Interestingly enough, we see Taylor Hawkins, who runs the general store in
Mm,
town, kind of favoring his shoulder and looking a little embarrassed. He's been popping up time to time asking you about this pain he's been having, but
mm,
they're all farmers and laborers. There's a lot of physical pain, and they don't really talk too openly about their health. But something on his face seems a little different than the last time he was here, as your head almost knocks into his as you emerge through the side window.
Oh, Mr. Hawkins, sorry.
Doctor, morning. Sorry, I wasn't sneaking. I was just going
Oh,
around.
no, sorry. I was working on
Awkward
that.
shakes your hand through this like
Yeah.
half hanging out the window.
Yeah. Um, Come in, and like will like awkwardly slide themselves back outside of their window and open the door.
Um,
Um, what's wrong?
as you open the door, you also see the procession a little further away coming down the main street. And you'll notice this right handed figure, you know him and how he moves, is favoring that arm and using the other as he hands you a small, wrapped in like a cloth item, no larger than maybe an antelope gilt or a rainbow that's been left in the sun for too
Mm,
long. So it's pretty small, about the size of an avocado pit, maybe. Uh, but you can also see that it's bleeding through the material, kind of a red, viscous liquid of sorts.
okay. Um,
I, I cut it open. The bump got real big, and I cut it open, and that was in it.
okay.
It seems fine now, but that was in
You
me.
should come like and
Yeah,
and
let's get out.
now like yeah, like we'll just take him into my like actual office space and go about knowing probably how badly sterilized everything was, and just goes back and redresses everything.
The
And
cut
like,
seems fine. Like it seems like he knows how to use a knife. Like it was a
okay,
clean cut.
good
The
clean cut.
item that's been pulled from it is a little more alarming.
Mm,
Um, it looks like a seed, burgundy, porous, as though it was made from like coral or stone, about the size of a mermaid dream, or maybe like a pomegranate sai, but maybe a little bigger than that. It doesn't look like any seed that you've seen before, and it shouldn't have grown in his shoulder. Everyone just giving me straight ass looks while I say things like pomegranate sai is really doing me wonderful. But he's handing you this bloody seed that he pulled out of his shoulder, looking embarrassed, like, I know I'm not certified, but
Um, and we'll just immediately I'm going to take this if that's okay, and we'll
Oh,
just like
please.
go and stick it in a jar that um and like I will eventually put the proper fluids and stuff in there, but and we'll go about fully dressing the wounds and double checking everything. So, okay, I thought it was going to be a cyst, but okay.
A
Um
what?
so
I have a brother, but
yes, I'm sorry, my accent can get a little confusing. Um you know, have you ever had like a blemish on your face, like a pimple?
he has scars
Mm.
from
So
youth
there's
bumps.
yes. You can get them larger ones on different parts of your body.
That's
So that's what I
horrible.
thought. It is. So I thought that was what the situation was, but it wasn't quite at a stage where I could pinpoint where
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
cut, which luckily you did very well. Um, when did this happen?
4 hours ago.
Okay, this is fresh. Good.
Oh, I wanted to
Glad
get it to
to-
you fresh.
Much appreciated. Um,
Are we?
what?
But I gotta go open the store. I just
Yes.
wanted, yeah, just
Good.
thought you should
You're good
have
to
it.
go.
Hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But okay, and this is like
Yeah.
confidential. Like you're like a body lawyer.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
okay.
exactly how doctors work.
All right,
Hmm.
I'll see you at the dance tomorrow.
Sure.
Sure, sure, sure. And he makes his way, opening the door with his left arm, not his right, obviously favoring it, but seems not in touch with enough emotional maturity to be able to acknowledge the pain he's done to his own body. As you help him out, well, hold the door open for him. Did you have a thing?
I'll get him a sling as well,
Perfect.
so that way he can. Yeah.
For his arm, not for like hunting.
Correct. Correct.
Perfect. As you're at the door, like maybe wiping your hands, watching him walk off, you also see Miss Abilene just down to the right, not too far, on their own porch of the schoolhouse. We also see Ed making their way from the wood even further down than that. We do not see Cam. And then if you look to the left, there's one lone figure on a porch in a rocking chair, going back and forth. Ellen Yoko, what do we see when we see you?
When we see her rocking in this chair, we see an older woman. She's around somewhere in her early 70s. She has around shoulder length, dark brown hair. There's gray speckled all throughout. She's got this little light blue bandana that's got little flowers on it. She wears a very modest light blue button-up shirt, a long kind of thick skirt. It's got like little boots and things on. And we see her with her little hands just like resting on the rocking chair, and she's rocking back and forth. And you can tell she was in the middle of telling something. And as we tune in, we hear just the very end of it, and she says, and so that's how industry standard fire precautions were put into place at the theater. Um, you know, you can try and try all you want to try to prevent things, but they always happen in the end. And so that's that's how that happened. And we just see her rocking and
We all
finishing
see
that
a,
up.
a little boy laying on the deck looking bored as tears, just kicking his heels into the floor. Bored. There's no internet. What's he to do? There's just the world. But he is learning so much about fire law. Who knows if this will come to pass later. He has a big sigh and then flips over onto his stomach to watch the procession start, the funeral parade. That's parade. There's like 12 people in it. It's not a parade. It's a community, and you see them moving. You would know this young fella who had died. They have only been in
Hmm.
town 3 or 4 years, so not born here or anything.
Hmm.
But a good lad.
Hmm.
And little Jonah rolls over on his stomach and sighs, and he's like, "Did you hear that somebody broke into the tannery last night?"
Oh dear, last night I had not heard that. Poor
Yeah, I
soul.
wasn't supposed to tell anyone.
It's okay. Secrets are safe with me.
That's what I thought. I'm gonna go chase the casket.
All right. Well, just don't chase it too close. That's rude to the spirit and his family.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for letting me sit on your porch. And he just
Of
like
course, anytime.
jumps. You see a bunch of little kids like 20 yards behind the casket, kind of just running around,
Hmm.
not part of the procession, but part of the community, and welcomed to be close enough.
Hmm.
Have you planned your funeral?
Um, I've thought about it. I
Hmm.
don't think I've done any extensive planning. I don't know really who's gonna miss me all that much, but I've thought about it just a little.
Give us one detail you've locked in.
I've locked in no bagpipes. I don't want bagpipes. I don't think I want much music really in my procession. I think if anything, I would like some nice spoken word while I'm being taken. I think that's what I've locked down for sure.
Would that be a theme, do you think, across Ellen's life? Is she prefers words to music most of the
Oh,
time?
absolutely, 100%.
Good people right there. As you're on this porch rocking, all of you but Cam do see each other moving through this space. You have all been introduced, my dear party. There is no NPC with a yellow triangle above their head. There is just your life and just the world. Here's what we're going to do, we're going to maintain our initiative in a way. Ed, where you headed?
Um, well, first, I think as Ed walks up, and there's the young boy running from Miss Yoko's. I
Jonah.
think, yeah, Ed just kind of trips him as he runs past him. Just a light kind of like playful. I just kick his heel out from under him.
Jonah eats shit as I just rolled a one.
Yeah.
So he hits the ground pretty hard. There's a little bit of not bodily harm. He is protected by plot armor, but he definitely looks upset and a little angry at you, Ed. Like you might have somebody might be after you in 10 years. Is all I'm saying. If he could write, you'd be on a list. Is what I mean.
Oh, you gotta watch where you're going. You ran over my foot there.
Dirty fisherman. And he runs off to go join the funeral procession with the
Don't
rest
eat
of the
fish
community
then.
that just watched you trip him. You see all these like pallbearers kind of looking over as he gets up.
I'm gonna go
Hi,
over to you.
Ed.
Hey, it's is he heavy?
See, they just shake their heads. I'm afraid you're going to run up and trip them, and they continue to move down the road. One of them is the boy's uncle, so he could, he's busy right now. But feel free to go talk to someone else.
Yeah.
Ed.
I'm gonna go to Yoko, to Miss Yoko, who's on her yeah, on her stoop.
Ed, are
Dad
you
just
causing?
revealed.
Ed, are you out causing mischief as usual? Is that what that was?
Well, no, that young man just ran right over my foot. How rude! They need to watch where they're going.
You know, he might have been preoccupied. I parted a lot of knowledge on fire laws on him. His brain might have just been full, you know. So you got to
You
be
tell
kind
him.
to the youngins.
You tell him not to start him.
Yeah, don't start him. Be careful. Just don't do anything rash.
Yeah,
Don't do
yeah, yeah.
anything too crazy.
That's the smashed boy, right? In the casket.
Pardon?
Yes, he was smashed. That would be an accurate way to put it. He does have a name. I can get you. His name was Darren Bartle. Darren as a first name.
He had a name, Ed. You can call him. It was Darren.
Oh,
Sweet boy,
Darren,
good boy. It
sweet boy,
was
good boy.
it was
Well,
tragic.
everything's food for something, right?
I
Or
suppose if you want to look at it in that way.
well, I mean, he will be missed. I'm sure he ate fish, which feeds me, and Now
One
who's
less
gonna
customer.
feed the worms, which will I'll feed the fish, which will feed everybody here.
as
You know, it's a
as
shame.
Ed reaches Zen, realizing we are all connected through the eating of fish. Well, I think cinematically we'll actually just pull back as Ed is going through this thing. It's like, well, if I eat the fish and then they eat the fish, and if we both swim, then we become fish. And we just kind of pull back, and we're gonna go back out to the woods to our one lone party member that's still away from town. Cam, you cannot hear the bagpipes unless you have quickly followed in Ed's footsteps.
No, no,
Wonderful.
I did not do that. No.
I would love to have another mapping roll from you as you are still traipsing about out here in the
Sure.
wood.
Let me. That was a 6 exactly.
Beautiful. One thing in the system, dear players, if like the set of something is you have to hit six, it will always be you have to hit six for that item. Like
Hmm.
if it's crossing a river, it will be the same roll every time. There is a consistency, so you know how much work things take. Uh, I read that chapter today and I found it very insightful in the book. Um, Kim, you see hooves. You see two little hooved footprints that seem to fade out and become bare feet again.
Hmm.
They don't really reveal much more else about themselves besides their shape.
Hooved feet that became bare feet. Is that what I'm meant to be
That's
gleaning from
that's
that
what it
description?
looks like, or like a goat that somebody picked up and then carried, maybe.
Yeah, that's much more of a reasonable explanation, ain't it? But I think I'm quite the curious person, so I think I might follow these footsteps as far as they might lead me.
Curiosity is holy, and not too far ahead of you, the bushes shake. Cam, the bushes move a little. Cam, what do you think about that?
I think I have my rifle on me, and I might just hold it in such a way that if something were to jump out at me, I could quickly dispatch a potential threat.
For my own clarification, a rifle or shotgun? It is a rifle.
It is a rifle. It
Yep.
is a rifle.
So, what would you want to jump out of this bush, Cam, and what would you rather not? Like, if joy came forward, would you be happy? If a song sung from a pure heart emerged, would you dance?
Oh well, I would find joy personally if a nice hearty rabbit popped out of these bushes. You know, and Nana Ellen makes a fine rabbit stew that I've just been craving recently. So I'd like to be able to bring something home for her. Um, I think I might decidedly dislike it if a person were to jump out of these bushes because I
Hmm.
can't eat that.
Have you tried?
Not yet.
Perfect. Um, Here's what happens, Cam. As you are moving close to this space, all of a sudden, maybe not that sudden, you kind of knew something was happening, but a duck bursts out of the bush. A bullet box, a signal box. He sees the duck. Great job, bullet. Uh, will you use a rifle to try to hunt a duck?
I would love to use my rifle to try and hunt a duck.
Deal. It'll be a little hindered because it's not really meant for bird hunting, and we will fade to yellow
Sure.
upon hit or anything of that sort, dear readers out there. So with the hinder, why don't you just roll me a nine?
Well, I did roll a one.
Ones do things in other times, dear players. I don't know if you looked at the mechanics of ones and crits in this game, but we're not really gonna count this right now because you're just trying to get a duck.
Just trying to get a duck.
Bullet boxed too quick. The duck gets away too fast. The shot rings out in a way where anyone within a mile knows that the silence has been broken and can assume it was maybe from Cam. Sorry if I mute myself from time to time. There's a douche on a loud bike that keeps going around my front porch, and I keep scooting them away while trying to tell this story, well, to everyone that's gathered. It's awkward for all of us. But the duck gets away from you, thankfully, because there was a destiny there that I would have hate to see you cut short. Um, do you
Mhm.
usually catch something, Cam?
I would say, I mean, hunting's not a science, you know. I would say I get enough to sustain myself usually. Some days are better than other days. That's just how it is in these woods. Winter is hard for obvious reasons. Uh, Spring tends to be the best. Now it's kind of we're slowly getting into a colder times, so things are starting to get a little harder out here.
Do you like living out here, Cam?
It's the only life I've ever known.
And we'll watch you and Bullet, if I may be so bold, begin making your way back to town after letting everyone know you at least tried. The all of you besides Cam are in this space. There's normal daily day activities. The time is not constrained by our story. If it's as simple as Miss Abeline's like, I have to go to work, I'm working all day long, things can speed along, we can shift things. We're not bound by anything of that sort. I do know that Ellen Yoko has been asked by the town to try to rile up some younger folks to help out with a few things for the dance tomorrow. Anyone younger than Ellen is a younger folk in the town. So that is probably the only thread that's in front of you. Dear players, who wants to do something? This is how we're doing this. This is slice of life. Miss Abilene, Charlie, what do you have?
Well,
Oh
uh,
well.
yes.
Oof.
I have some sort of seed that I have to investigate.
Do you know much about
Like
plants as a doctor?
not as much as I should. Um,
Fair.
it's not my. I'm more in the nitty gritty instead of the herbalism.
The nitty gritty.
Yes.
I get
Well,
that.
you know, fought in the war, so well, war medic. So, a
What do
lot
you
hard
intend
out
to
there.
do with this seed, Charlie Albedine? Are you studying it? Are you seeking advice? Are you planting it? Are you swallowing it?
I do think since I haven't taken out like I just have it in the jar currently. I do fully take it out and like do a sniff test.
Hmm.
Um,
Smells like blood.
okay.
Wait, did you just lick it?
No, snake smelling.
Oh, snake smell. Got it.
Yes,
Hmm.
got snake smell. Um,
Classic.
mhm. Every sage has to.
I'd say blood. It
Mm,
also just has that organic material smell that like a peach
mm.
pit or something would once it's been cleaned. It just smells like itself a little bit. It's hard to imagine what fruit this would be and how it would grow. Is it a tree seed? Is it a bush? Is it a vine? Um,
I I would um I would go seek out Miss Eveline because she might have a bit more book knowledge, have more access to some stuff that I might be able to identify this. And
mhm.
if not, well, I'll grab some dirt, I guess.
Teaching the local kids how to identify plant life. They would definitely have books probably at the schoolhouse within that area of expertise. We don't want them just eating everything. Remember last summer, those kids looked weird. Miss Abilene, you see the doctor approaching, but are you starting school? Like, do you have students here waiting? Are they interrupting your day?
Well, if we are not subject to time constraints,
We are
I suppose
not.
we could say school has just ended. So I'm standing outside of the schoolhouse saying goodbye to all of my students when I see Charlie coming by.
Beautiful.
Ah, Miss Abilene. I was hoping to pick your brain on a seed that was found.
A seed that was found.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm sure I can help you find out what you're looking for. Come inside,
Yeah.
Are
and I
either
will
of
lead
you
you
trained
quietly
in
inside.
herbalism? Sorry for the interruption. Are either of you trained in herbalism or plant life of any sort type of study? Deal. That's fine. Continue.
No, but
Hmm.
I have a book, and if I make a roll concerning the subject of a book, as long as I have it in my possession and can devote a half hour to the task, we get twice our roll on it.
Not
Sounds
to get
cool.
too poetic, but fuck yeah. You two can easily dedicate a half hour to academic discussion and
Mm-hmm.
research. If you don't mind, I'm going to fade out while you do that, check on some other people, then come back in as you're developing some answers. Uh, Cam, we're saying you're almost back to town if you don't mind by this point. If you want to go away from town, Cam, that is totally acceptable. There are stories everywhere.
I think I think I've probably been given a task for the dance that is happening tomorrow. I believe that is. Um, the townsfolk know that I tend to be out in the woods, and there's still some flowers that are um, blooming in this time of year.
There are.
Uh, they'd like some decorations, so just some things that are a little further out, harder for them to get, but they know that I have probably seen on my excursions. So since I haven't had much luck in the hunt, I might as well forage.
Ellen did give you a very specific list of like the colors they're hoping to find and everything, and you would have easily found them, especially since you weren't actually hunting much
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
that one. I don't know if you remembered the one from a little
Yeah,
while ago. Oh,
it did slip my mind. Thank you so much for reminding me.
mhm.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want Nana Ellen to pull my ear for not getting everything on her list. So gotta get it
With
done.
with an armful of flowers, where do you think you would head? Now that time has shifted forward, it's more like 2:30 in the afternoon now. We are not bound by time, my friends.
I'm not bound my time. I think at this point Cam would start heading back to town. Bullet's probably got a flower caught between his teeth, stem, and the little blossom just hanging out of his mouth. Because he's ever so helpful. He's a little bit ahead of her on the path home.
Ed, you made 65 cents selling fish today.
Oh, could have been worse. Could have been better. I'm gonna go check on a little batch of moonshine that I've been whipping up.
Of,
Uh,
of course.
yeah,
Mhm. Is that in the woods between the town and your hut? Like, are you going back
It
out now
is.
that Cam's in? All right. You two even pass each other once again on the road. Bullet and Cam coming towards town. Ed now going back out, as parties love to do. Uh, a wave, an interaction. I'm not sure. You do see Cam is full of flowers that they're heading to Ellen's place with.
Cam, all those flowers and nothing to eat. What happened?
I decided my time was better spent getting decorations for the party tomorrow.
Right, not a wide shot at all.
No, I have never shot wide in my life. Although, if you'd like to join me next time, I'm sure you can watch.
I appreciate the invitation.
I'm sure you do. Are you heading back out to go fish?
No, I was gonna go get a nip of something.
Oh,
Are you interested in joining?
a nip of what?
Something for the colder weather.
Yeah. All right. I just got to drop these flowers off first, and then meet at your place.
Oh, you know what? I'll wait right here for you because
Oh,
it's
okay.
a little off the path.
Sounds good. All right. Just give me 1 second.
Of course.
We see Ed just standing on the trail as Cam keeps heading in on foot slowly. It's beautiful out. It's a beautiful autumn day. It's a nice temperature. It's not too cold quite yet. Um, Ed, never mind. Never actually, Ed, you stay right there. Ellen, you're about to have company. Miss Abilene and Charlie Alberdine. Your names are so similar. Uh, um, give me some sort of role, and we get to double it because of the book.
Well,
Hmm?
I reread what I wrote. We get an
Oh.
asset. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Let's say you find a local book that can of herbalism, local plants, things of that sort, that can bring the target number down for you, basically like an ease. So since neither of you is trained, it was going to be a 12, but that'll bring it down to 9
Mm.
with the book. You are more than happy to spend points and effort if you want to on this type of role. I will not say no. I will also let you know your life does not depend on it.
Are we both
Well,
rolling?
I think is it one of you rolls and it's wait no we refuse we said that's not how it works anymore. I'll let you both roll and we'll take the highest. We'll just say
okay.
one of you has an idea. You're both academics.
I have an intellect. I have an edge in intellect, so I'm going to lower that down to a 6. And then,
Beautiful.
um, I also am trained in understanding magic and
Hmm.
knowing. Like, I didn't tell Miss Adeline, where the seed came from, but I know where the
Hmm.
seed came from.
Hmm. Hmm.
Would I be able to lower that down to a 3?
If I understand. I will say it would broaden the information you could get back, whether or
Okay,
not the seed itself is magic.
fair
It
enough.
could definitely, you could learn that it's not. Could be
Fair.
information. Miss Abilene, are you also trained in or have an edge in intellect?
I do
That's
not.
right. You don't. You don't. The teacher does not. So you're trying to hit a 9, and Charlie's trying to hit a
6.
6. Is that where I was? Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Sorry, cipher system.
Numbers and threes. I got a 15.
I got a 10.
Hey.
Glory, hallelujah. Uh, you both can be 100% sure that you have never seen this seed before, and it is very difficult to find anything that resembles it. You would guess maybe like a peach pit, sorta, but it's much darker, and that little porous texture to like a peach pit is a lot more aggressive. The pits and holes and divots are a lot more well pronounced in this seed. It doesn't match any of these beautiful drawings of seeds that you're now looking through in the book. Um, you did learn that you don't know what it is. Let's go with some understanding magic. This is not a magic seed, but it appears as though it's been impacted by some sort of force. Magic is a broad term. The green has its own science, the dark has its own science. Something has impacted this, but it itself is not magic.
Mm.
Would be just going more on a hunch. It would be what you would kind of discern from that. You might be wrong, but that's up to you. Do you think you're wrong, Charlie?
Adrian doesn't think they're wrong.
Adrian, my apologies. Middle names are so rude.
Mm.
Adrian, you don't think you're wrong. Perfect. Let's go with that. Ellen Yoko, did you go to the funeral?
I would have gone to the funeral, yes.
By this point, you'll just be making it probably back after a slow walk and a little bit of a picnic under the trees near the cemetery.
Hmm.
The wails of Josephine, young Darren's love, engage soon. Hopefully, we were hoping next spring, but uh, she wails, having crawled down and laid upon the coffin before the dirt was thrown. It's not as awkward as it sounds. The culture was a different type of mourning. Walls weren't thick, neighbors weren't far. You heard the suffering of the people around you and bore it together or bore it alone with everyone knowing. So a few of the other townspeople help her out and calm her. They finally get Darren put away. You see about 7 fresh graves that were maybe from the last 8 months or so. Almost one a month, it seems, has been going to some horrible accident, whether it's the mine, the logging, the drowning. Um, it's been a rough period of time. Not enough people moving in as the town needs. You're definitely the eldest. The next one down might even be like the town sheriff of sorts. He has no authority besides the fact that everyone kind of trusts him, and he's bigger and has a gun.
Mhm.
But he's looking bothered, a little concerned. It was his nephew,
Mm.
Darren. He actually had asked him to come move here. But none of this appears to be underhanded or mysterious. There's no quest beginning here, my dear friends. We're playing a slice of life game. Ellen, do you
Mhm.
have a plot picked out for yourself? Like, have you already gone that far for when you
I
die?
haven't I haven't gone that far. Like I said, I've thought a little bit. I haven't thought about it too hard. I haven't gotten that far.
You and Cam and Bullet all see each other as you're approaching your front porch once again. You see Cam holding all the flowers of the valley, um, and you both see each other, old and sincere friends.
Cam, honey, I
Hi,
see you went
Nana.
above and beyond.
Of course, anything for you. I've got all the flowers that you requested. Do you want me to just leave them inside?
Perfect. Yeah, I'll help you carry them. They look like they're spilling out of your hands.
It's really all right, Nana.
It
You don't you worry yourself.
looks
I've
like
got.
Bullet might have gotten one himself. So let me help.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again for doing this.
Yeah, of
It's too
course.
much for me nowadays.
Oh well, you're the strongest of us, Nana. I wouldn't discount yourself yet.
I thank you, dear. Speaking of things, I do need your assistance in some stuff.
Of course.
I got asked to help wrangle some people to help for tomorrow's party. And
Hmm.
now I trust your head better than I trust mine. Um, so I think we could be a great team in helping pick out some people who could maybe help us out.
You know, Nana, now that you mention it, I am gonna go see Ed a little late. Actually, like almost immediately after this, I'm gonna go see Ed. He's just kind of waiting for me to finish delivering these flowers to you. I think I could wrangle Ed into helping out for tomorrow.
Mm-mm, hopefully he doesn't trip up.
Mm, well, maybe he'll actually wear shoes.
I don't think we could make him do that.
It's a dan. It is a little fancy.
For as long as I've seen that boy around, he's had wet socks. I don't know how he does it.
I try not to think about his feet too much.
That's fair.
Besides that, was there anybody else that you were thinking of asking?
Question for the GM. Do
Mhm.
I know exactly what they're looking for in terms of help? I
Uh,
know
there's
that the
mhm.
definition was younger people. They give
There's
me
a
anything
couple
else.
things. You got to check with Robert Barker to make sure the music's still on for the event. The flowers were obviously needed. The mine, they're wondering if they could borrow some of the lanterns from the mine to kind of decorate the space. The town doesn't have a huge supply of things. And then to check in at the saloon to make sure the food and drink is still all coming along, and mostly making sure there's no loose edges that need to be cleaned up before tomorrow.
All
You're
right.
not responsible for something all on your own. It's just making sure other people are on what they need to do. It's the first fall dance, Ellen.
Yeah,
Did you ever meet someone special at one of the fall dances, Ellen?
I did at one point.
Good. We're reaching 4 or 5 p.m. Cam, if you have set down your flowers, you've got some moonshine awaiting you. Um, Charlie and Charlie Albadine and Miss Abilene, how long are you willing to hang out with the seed and discuss? To be honest, if you spent more time, I may allow more info. But if you're already like it's been a long day, I need to go get dinner. I don't know.
Well, I have access to this whole library, so if you want to keep looking, by all means.
Um, if you don't mind, I would appreciate it just for a little bit longer. I don't think I'll be.
Of course, would you like a cup of tea?
Sure, that'd be lovely. Haven't had
Great.
tea. What do you what type of tea do you have out of curiosity?
I I have a small shed, so I only have green tea.
Okay. And you just see the like
Only
the
enough
hope
room
for
for
Earl
one type.
Grey. The
Only
hope
enough
for Earl
room for
Grey.
one type of tea.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
How long does it take you to heat up water? Do you have a nice little stove in the schoolroom that's just always going to keep the
No,
kind of autumn cold at bay?
I'm going to be taking water back to my shed and I'm going to put it over the fire. It's going to take me a good probably 20-25 minutes before I get back with this tea.
Wonderful.
I got to start a fire, heat the water. Yeah.
Describe your shed to us for a moment.
Oh, okay. Prepare myself. So I live in a shed behind the schoolhouse. It's small, but I don't have to pay rent to live there since they brought me here to work. It has a small bed, a small secretary with plenty of drawers to hold all my letters, lesson plans and teaching supplies, and all of my jumpers. There's also a small vanity within the secretary that holds my sewing kit. I built a shelf next to my secretary that holds all of my books. And across from my bed is a very small kitchen. There's an ice box, a one-person table with just the one chair that I take back and forth from the table to the secretary, and a fireplace between the kitchen area and the bed area that I use to cook my meals. And there's a mantle above the fireplace that hangs a kettle, a large pot, and a cast iron pan, and some tools to use the fireplace. And then outside of my shed is a little yard where my garden and my bike are.
I'm going to do a GM intrusion of a sort. For those that are not familiar with the Cypher system, a GM intrusion is just a narrative tool for the GM to be like, hey, what if this happens? And if the player says yes, they get an experience point and they get one to give to another player. The player can also be like, no, and spend an experience point to cancel out said intrusion. This is a strange one because in my mind it happened yesterday when you cracked two eggs for food and they were filled with sand. And you have this moment remembering looking at your things as you're heating this fire. It maybe just came and went as like, well, that's fucked up. The next eggs were fine. But in this moment, it's brought to your surface as you see the little pile of sand and dust that you brought. It looks as simple as river sand. There was nothing overly interesting about it. But you remember that there's a doctor here now. Maybe they know something of the sort. Maybe someone else will. But that is one of the many weird things that has happened since you moved to this town. Not just lumberjacks getting crushed, Miss Amberline, that's common. But stranger things like moist feet padding on your roof. Small fingers that like reach out from under houses and wave and then pull back into the darkness and run off as though there was some sinister yet mischievous children looking like they're pranking their new teacher, possibly. Getting all that sand into an egg would take some work, but that's not to say they're not doing it. They're bored. There's no internet.
Absolutely. So I'm going to take two teacups. One of
Mhm.
the teacups I'm going to fill with the tea, and the other I'm going to fill with the sand and eggshell. I'm going to walk both of them back into the schoolhouse and hand them both to the doctor. Here's your tea. And
Okay.
here is something that happened yesterday when I was making breakfast. Have you ever seen an egg filled with sand before?
Um.
I'll leave that up to you, Adrian.
Hmm. I think they're just like. I think they're a little confused by also the mode of delivery, it being in a teacup. And so they're kind of like, they just hold the teacup, and I'm kind of looking at it. And I what I'm going to use magic. I'm going to pour my tea into that teacup, slosh it around, pour the excess liquid back into my current teacup, and then uh, basically on one of the like school tables, just flip and onto the little plate and read the leaves.
Amazing. Is this a skill, an ability, a cipher, or are you just doing using
I'm
magic?
I'm just using magic,
Beautiful.
which I am enable in because of
Oh,
reasons. Yeah, it's a fun
enabled.
thing. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll say that this, for someone who uses magic, 12, so down to a 9. So if you have anything to cut that even more, that's up to you. Um,
Other than my edge and intellect.
you can apply the edge once any roll.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Um,
down to 6.
down to 6. Okay.
Beautiful.
That's 7.
Fantastic. What are you trying to see?
I think it's a little bit of why are these weird things happening, but
Mhm.
also what's going on with it's a mixed desire of wanting to know what's going on with the seed, but also wanting to understand the eggshell, like this weird egg thing, the sand. But I think the main desire is towards what this seed is.
As you're looking at your beautiful egg sand, um, before we fade to break, dear players and readers, it resembles the town of New Spring, as though you made a loose topography map using this sand. And you'll notice that the table you poured it out on and dumped it, some child or someone had carved into this desk, and there's these large compass kind of lines across it. And where you dumped this is directly in the middle of these crossing lines. It's cinematically interesting without revealing much about what it is. Um, if I had to be so bold as to give you an implied feeling that might come from this,
Hmm.
it would be slight ominous, maybe a bad portent to have
Mm,
an omen do nothing but point to exactly where you are.
yeah.
It might be for ill or good, but you are certainly where you are. And
Hmm.
where we are, dear readers, is we're about to go to break. So turn to page 13 if you'd like to take a break. Thank you. We'll be going to break now. We'll be back in just a few moments. Moments. If you donate to our charity for hurricane relief, you can be entered into a rally. That's not the right word. A raffle
Raffle.
to win Old Gods of Appalachia PDF of this beautiful book. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And if our producer is there, I believe they are, we will be going to break. And if not, we'll all be awkwardly waving. Well, well, well. Hello, welcome back. I hope you all drank some water, ate some dirty eggs, and put on some dry socks. Real quick, before we get started again, I want to give out the content warnings just in case. We are playing Slice of Life horror, so there is unreliable narration, fear, possible physical harm with potential light gore, implied harm to animals in the form of hunting and fishing, but no descriptions, death, possible violence, possible body horror, possible gore, and definitely some fucking profanity. So please take care of yourself. Dusk is not yet here, but it is approaching. Don't worry, there's nothing waiting to jump out at you from the bushes and ruin your joy. I think we're gonna start as our camera zooms back to see Cam heading back out of town, but we'll come into the window once again at the classroom to return to Miss Aldine, Albaline, and Adrian Albadine. I'm going to call you both the double A's whenever you're together. Um, or
Totally fair.
AA? No, we won't do
Triple
that.
A?
Wow.
Are we AAA? I guess.
Is there anyone with
But
another A?
well,
Oh,
I have the
Adrian Albadine. God damn it, you are triple
yes.
A. All right. All right, we'll return to AAA because it comes so highly recommended. And we see maybe now a candle is lit in the space. The shadows are a little longer because of the angle of the windows and whatnot. What are you all about? Is it still study, or have you reached that academic purity where you're talking about high, lofty ideas?
Well, actually, Abilene sees Adrian mix these two substances and pour them out on the desk and is immediately taken aback. Are you practicing witchcraft in my schoolhouse?
Um, and like as they're sipping the tea, like because they basically poured the liquid back into the original teacup that was meant for their tea, as sipping, just like still green tea. Um, magic,
I'm not
witchcraft.
really
That's a
sure what your
relative.
old teacher allowed in here, but with me, this is a godly place. And I don't believe in that.
Fair enough. And will immediately like grab. I'm assuming there probably has like a dustpan or some sort of collection of trash, and will just like kind of take a visual mental memory of what they've seen and then just swipe it into the trash can and set it down. Um, Never intending to cause any harm. Just sorry.
Thank
Hmm.
you.
Yes. Um
Question,
hmm.
Miss Abilene, being a person of science and not witchcraft, how would you translate into your worldview something such as eggs filled with sand?
It's actually quite easy.
Mhm, mhm.
Before I asked Adrian, I did imagine that these eggs were evil, and so God spited them and turned them to ash. I just wanted someone else to confirm my thoughts, but unfortunately, it didn't go that way.
Yolks on us. Adrian, you might be walking on eggshells here, but
uh I do down whatever's left just to like also take in what was needed and set the other teacup down empty. Thank you for your assistance in your books. I think I might know what to do with this, and will head back to their office to
before you describe what you
yeah.
do, Miss
Mhm.
Abilene, is there anything you want to say or convey as Dr. Albadine uh, leaves the AAA?
Oh, yes, come back anytime. I'll see you at the dance tomorrow night.
Sure.
It'll be
And
magical.
Good night.
have a great evening. And we enter my office, which didn't get to fully describe because we were rudely interrupted. Uh, it
He
has a
cut his
lot.
shoulder open.
It was the bagpipes first, but
Oh, that's fair.
nonetheless, uh, you see a filled with shelves, uh, and it's a two-story building. He has his rooms upstairs. They uh, it's a semi-cluttered office, but lots of beakers and fluids and chemicals. There's some morphine in there that also, because especially being around miners and laborers, definitely need that to
Miners,
help
as
with the
in mine workers.
correct.
All
Well,
right, all
miners
right.
and miners can be miners sometimes also.
Oh, yeah, we start them
It,
at
it
full adult
happens.
here. When they're 13, full grown men, they get into that
Exactly,
mine.
exactly. Um, it was worse back home, but nonetheless. And will just instinctually grab dirt from outside, throw it in a jar, stick the seed in, throw a little bit more on it, and pour some water, and just kind of set it in upstairs. It's going to be upstairs, and it's going to be in my room where light comes in from the window from the morning. And it'll just set on the bedside table so I can investigate.
Faith and belief is a very different thing for everyone. For some, it's burying a seed and just watering it and hoping something will grow from this mystery. For others, it's if I build my home here, there will always be enough fish. For others, it's get that out of my classroom. This is a place of light and learning. For others, it's not planning their funeral all the way. We all believe in things, and right now I believe Cam is looking to get toasted as they are walking out into the green. Dusk now a little more urgent in its approaching, Bullet doing his namesake, as we find Ed standing at this crossroad in the trail where he's been for about an hour and a half, just waiting for your return. It would have only been another 10 minutes if he wanted to go home, but he decided to wait right here. And Cam, you see him as you approach.
Have you been waiting here this whole time?
I know. I went around. I went around the trees a little bit and peed a little and came back.
But pretty much waited here this whole time.
Right. Well, my socks were drying, so
Oh, good. They're dry now.
mostly.
That's good. I'm very happy for you. And
Yeah.
I think we should just go. Let's
Yeah, it's
just go.
getting dark.
It's getting dark.
Where do you keep your moonshine making device as you walk on with your moist soul?
It's, I would say, just shy of being halfway between my home and the town, like the town itself, and maybe like north, like just headed a little deeper into at a different angle into the general forest, and like a nice little cold, moist place that I bury this jar and barrel.
Now, is this for self use, for profit? Is this an industry thing?
I like it. People like it. You can make money off it sometimes. It's more of a friendly thing than anything.
Fair, fair.
The fish pay the bills.
Has Cam ever been here? Cam's grown up the whole life here. I wasn't sure if Ed did the same.
I think Cam has had the misfortune of having quite a few different iterations of Ed's moonshine over the years. Took a while for it to be drinkable, but now we're finally getting somewhere that might actually be enjoyable.
Yeah, Ed Shine. It probably won't make you blind. That's
Speaking
what I
of,
say.
Cam, how was your vision before you started sampling Ed's moonshine?
Luckily for Ed, it's always been like this, which is just a little off. Well, she wouldn't really know the difference. I don't really know the difference. Um, it's been like this my whole life. I would be surprised to hear that other people can see differently.
Ed, paint me a picture of how you welcome a guest into your little I don't know, your happy place.
Uh, so first, there's two like not even chairs, like stumps, and then clearly a small hole dug with leaves covering it to cover the goods. And I quickly brush off some leaves from one of the stumps, and then allow my guests to sit there. And then I get them. I unhook a little tin cup, and pour out some moonshine. And I swig it just in case I go blind. I'll go blind first. I learned my lesson. I take a quick swig. Don't go blind. I pour a little more. I give that to my guests. I get a second cup. Pour
Science.
myself a little bit.
How is it, Ed? How have you gotten at this?
Well, it's grain alcohol, and I don't know how much you know about grain liquor. It hurts,
Mhm.
but I think that it has more recently, Ed has been dabbling in floral and adding a little bit of the like floral essences to it, and so they're discolored in in the state in the fact that they have flowers just steeping in there.
Rubbing alcohol with a little bit of lavender underneath
Yeah,
it. Cam, what do you look at when you take a drink, Cam? Do you look at your cup? Do you look in the woods? Bullet, Ed? Tell me where your eyes are.
Uh, I've learned my lesson with it. I look at the glass first before I take my drink. Just make sure everything, I appreciate the effort that it's making here to drink first so that I feel more comfortable. But I do still look at the glass, and then, as I take my drink, I think my eyes just close. As I gather my wits about me, I probably just not really trying to look anywhere, but I imagine my eyes linger on the woods around us.
Beautiful. As your eyes close, you miss the opportunity to see a sinewy arm shoving out of Ed's cup instantly, grabbing at his braid, yanking his head, tilting. You don't see, your eyes are closed, you're looking in the distance, you don't catch it. It's only a second before it's gone. Ed noticed.
ah!
You all right?
Oh shit! It's a good batch.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I think I put some elderflower root in there, and that some bitch had a kick. Whoo!
Not
Hold on.
wow. This is. I'm surprised you're so affected by this, considering the last few batches you've made.
Yeah, 1 second. I think Ed pours himself like two more, just quickly down. Like, okay, we're okay. Yeah, it's just
It didn't grab you. Well, it did, but not that way.
Oh.
You,
Is there
you
anything out
sure
there?
you're all right? Did I? No, there's nothing. Are you all right?
Oh, I'm great. I'm fantastic.
Has
Are
your
you?
moonshine ever made you hallucinate, Ed?
No.
Fair. Has anything you eat
Yes.
in these woods? All right. You would not connect this to that. It did not feel like you were entering into that other realm. It felt just as dirty with just as many flies buzzing around as the real world does right now.
Yeah, no, I just had I don't know, an itch. Things that are weird. You ever had your braid pulled, Cam? It's not, you know.
Uh, I don't have a braid. Are you
Well,
sure you're all right?
I'm great. Want me to braid your hair?
I Sure, Ed. Actually, I meant to ask you something. Braids are a bit fancy, and tomorrow there's the party going on, and Nana asked me to get some folks to come help set up, and I was wondering if perhaps you might be interested.
Cam, are you asking me to the dance?
If I say yes, will you help set up?
I feel like you know the answer.
All right, Ed, I'm asking you to the dance, but you have to
Oh,
wear shoes.
of course. Oh, well, of course I'd love to dance that you're asking me to. I guess I could dust off or demud some shoes, probably.
I would appreciate it.
Our
Yeah.
camera pulls back from the two of you sitting around this with the "I would appreciate it" as over Ed's head. We can almost see him imagining dance steps, trying to remember them properly. Ellen, if we flew over this city, just tucking itself in for darkness, dinner being set, you can see the candles starting to fill up the windows around town. Would we still find you on your porch, or would you be inside this little home where Cam once lived, also?
I think that we would find her outside for right now. I think she likes watching the little town tuck itself to bed.
Hmm.
So I think she sits in front and she watches it all happen. Still rocking back and forth.
Is this rocking chair special memory coded specific, or do you just have to get a new one fairly often?
I just have to get a new one fairly often. I we haven't gotten that far advanced in technology where there's been one sturdy enough for all my rocking.
Have you ever tried rocking in a normal chair?
Once, long time ago, long story short, that's why I have a rocking chair, and that's why I can't use normal chairs. They don't have the same oomph to it.
Does the feeling of movement help you not feel stagnant?
Yes, I think that's partially why it helps my brain a little bit too.
The town quieting up. Ellen's still on the porch for now. It's not too cold. The blanket across your lap, an important piece from nostalgia, a little sunflower woven into the corner of it. You see the folks coming home from the mines, coming home from the lumber mill. All the kids got to get tucked up at night. It's real easy to get lost, and the woods get thick. It's almost like during the day, the green is holding its breath and letting the day creatures do what they must do. But at night, it's different. Ellen, if someone whistled to you from the green, would you whistle back?
Without thinking, yes.
Amazing. I'm going to be wibble wobbly with time for a moment, if everyone's acceptable with that. Um, a few hours pass. Some are sleeping, some are still awake. The saloon is in fine energy. If any of you are there, that is a place here in town with an inn above where any random tourists stay. Who do you think would be asleep by 11:13 p.m.? Just hypothetically. All right, all right. Ed's awake. Doctor's awake. Ellen, you got stronger tea. um, beautiful. Some people will dream tonight, but some people right now will also be woken from dreams. As in the middle of town where the old church rests, on top of the small hill, having been rebuilded on the foundation of the older church that used to rest on top of the hill, from everywhere in the town, there's a shaking, small things on tables quivering. A few of the weaker placed windows actually crack in their form, which will be very expensive and time consuming to replace. As through the darkness that surrounds this city, everyone hears something collapse, something fell. Not an earthquake as much as a cave in. Uh, if you were outside, you would see a plumage of dust going up into the sky over other buildings. You would hear the sound of it, even maybe the sound of a few volunteers starting to yell out things like, it's the church. The church caved into the ground, and people start running. Maybe there's a fire beginning. You see the hint of orange. You hope it's a fire beginning. Who's outside? Who's home? Who's awake?
I'm on the porch still.
Deal, deal. Ed, 11-ish, would you be back out at the hut, or are you like, do you drink out there and then drink in town? Type of Ed. Are you that type of Ed?
Um, I think that Ed drinks out there and then sort of just stays out there. He's up and he's close. He's definitely not back at the hut yet.
You would hear something, but it would be so far away that it would be very hard to translate what the sound did. It is also very late at night. Um, Ellen definitely hears it, especially if you're on the porch. You may even see it, but it is dark. There's no street lights. There's nothing revealed. Charlie, sorry, middle names, Adrian and Miss Albley, Triple A. You both are not very far from where this would have happened, where your homes are located. So
Mhm.
even if you were asleep, you probably would have woken. Cam, where do you live? Are you in town? Are you a little on the outskirts?
I live a little bit on the outskirts of town, not as far as Ed does, but yeah, just on the outside, just closer to the woods.
You definitely would have heard something then.
Uh-huh.
I will let you all decide how you feel like your characters would respond to something. You could just go back to bed if you want. Miss Albeline, you're the closest, I believe, to the church hill. Actually,
Yeah, I think obviously the shaking would wake me up, but what would really get me is hearing people scream, "It's the church." Of course, I'm gonna run out, and I don't live too far from her, so I'm going to see Miss Yoko on her porch, and I'm going to run over, and I'm gonna say, "Do you know what happened? I think
Uh,
it was Adrian. She was practicing. They were practicing witchcraft earlier."
Darling, I don't
Well,
know what you're talking about.
You don't know about that. You know about everyone around here, don't you?
well,
No, I don't. I may be an observer, but I don't pry.
Oh,
nice.
well, I think it was the church.
Is that what all the yelling was about?
Yes.
From your
Well,
porch, you both see a few forms kind of making their way. It's too far in the dark to make out a collapsed shape of whatnot, but there is a hill the church usually stands on, and it looks a little shorter, just the shadowed outline in the darkness.
oh boy, that doesn't look good, now does it?
Not at all.
I
All
think
right.
at that moment, if I may butt in,
You bet, yes.
yeah, because I'm on the second floor, so I feel like I feel it a bit more from. Also, foundation is probably not the best.
It's not.
Um,
Mhm.
And you're directly behind the schoolhouse, so you would
yeah,
very easily get.
so you see Adrian kind of the vest is gone and like their shirt is ruffled and like they were about to go to sleep but not quite and like putting on glasses and sees just like that little bit of like trouble is happening. I need to go see what's going on. That kicks in and just immediately runs to the church to see what's going on.
Do you grab your medicine bag or do you run?
Yes.
I would assume.
Yeah.
Deal. Miss Abilene, Ellen, you both are in the proximity closest to. Are you heading towards this area or are you watching from the safe distance? Ellen?
I'm gonna say to Miss Abilene, uh, sweetheart, go on ahead and find out what's going on. I need to check on something real fast, and I'm gonna go check on Cam.
Oh yes, of course. And I will
I'll meet
also
you there.
towards the church.
Wonderful. I'm going to say Miss Abilene running swiftly will probably get to the church by the time Ellen's about 20 feet
I'm
down the
gonna
road.
grab my bike and ride to the church.
I mean, well, that's all right because Cam is on her way, rifle in hand.
Mhm.
Just in a loose shirt, pants, boots thrown on haphazardly. Um, just making her way to where the sound was, sees Ellen in the road heading
Mhm.
over, goes up to her and is like, Nana, are you all right?
Cam, honey, I was just about to come check on you, make sure that you are all right. There's a lot of screaming. I don't know what's happening exactly. They're yelling about the church and stuff. I don't exactly know what's going on.
The church. It's like 11 at night. Why would anybody be at the church?
Listen, that's what any rational person might say. But listen, just looking at the hill, something's weird. I don't know. Maybe the yelling is warranted.
Nana, why don't we get you back home and I'll go check it out? Have you seen anybody? Is anybody hurt or?
I don't I haven't been able to go up to the scene yet. I've seen the new teacher in town. She came up to me, said some stuff about, I guess, witchcraft. I'm not sure exactly what she meant by that. And that now that the church is, God only knows what's happening over there.
Both of you realize in this moment you are heading to each other. And cinematically, we see you both realize that on your face. Well, to the right of our screen, Adrian and Miss Abeline show up at the church nearby at the same time and like look at each other and nod. And then in the top left corner, we see Ed who's in the woods with the cup on his chest, not grabbing his face. Uh, Adrian, AAA, what are you two? Now I'll tell you what you see. You see the shadows of debris. There are beams, broken wall. There's not a fire. There's not active electricity or anything like that. It's so dark that it just looks like almost a bird's nest of rubble, settled already, not longer collapsing. It happened quick in a movement, like a torn down quick movement. From the back side of it, there's someone with a torch searching on the other end, which makes this orange shadow go over the whole space that is just dark and black to you. You hear no one from the rubble. You don't hear anyone screaming anyone's name. Everyone just seems to be confused as to what just happened. Do either of you have a torch with you? Would you have had one, a lantern of any sort?
No. I think kind of Adrian would be kind of getting towards the light and kind of coming up to the person who has light currently and just kind of taps on the shoulder, like with the bag, and is just like, "Is anyone hurt?"
Not that we can tell, and you see someone we have not met quite yet. You see Jericho Rivers, who runs the resource camp log mine kind of crews. He's more of the office guy that does all the
Mm.
numbers, but an old logger that's now retired. And he's other. We haven't heard from anyone. We found the pastor. He's not in there, so I'm not sure if anyone's hurt. We just don't know what happened. And there's only like two or three people out right now. It is late at night. People are asleep, but there's a group of maybe six of you now, with
Hmm.
Cam on the way and Ed asleep.
I think at this point, um, knowing that no one is hurt, I will like find a safe spot to set like my medical bag down and just help move stuff to help figure out what's going on, like what caused it to just become rubble. Just kind of move.
Perfect.
When Abilene went back for her bicycle, she also reached into her travel pack and pulled out a battery operated flashlight, which are very
Wonderful.
uncommon these days. I just found out, but I have one
Mhm.
somehow. So I will run up to Adrian and say, I have this, and hand it to them, turning it on first in case they don't know
Wow.
how.
Sorry. Fancy.
My daddy gave it to me before I came this way.
Amazing. Thank
The
you.
modern world descends on this town.
And
I'm
I think
quite
there's a
close to
few like a few
Philadelphia.
click clicks, just a few to like see it work.
Some of the other people searching stop to look, having not seen a flashlight before.
Click click
Witchcraft.
Oh
click
no.
on, and we'll just with the higher beam start looking into the deeper rubble to see if we don't assume that there's nobody in there, it's okay, but just also to
The rubble
have a
pile
better
is
idea.
rather large. Are you both looking from the outside, or are you actively like pulling things off and climbing on? Um, just paint
Well,
me a little
I
picture.
am not
Mhm.
actively searching. I handed my flashlight to Adrian, and I am going to pray and send my thoughts and prayers to the rubble while
Beautiful.
Adrian searches.
That
Mhm.
seems like the most proactive thing to do.
I
Do
Mhm.
believe
you
so.
send your thoughts and prayers right there and beside it, or
Absolutely.
perfect? Um, do, Are you trained in any sort of acrobatics or athletics or hiking? I forget all the things one can be trained in. But under your skills, is there anything agility or speed based that would benefit you from like a tumble or a spill, anything of that sort?
Me.
Yes, sorry, Miss Abilene.
Uh, no.
Also, earlier I did a GM intrusion with you. Who did you want to give the second experience point to?
I was going to give it to Adrian since we were the ones working that scene together.
Perfect.
Cool.
Unfortunately for you, you're actually going to be the subject of the second GM intrusion right now. Would you accept the ground shifting a little from beneath you? Or would you like to spend an experience to stop this from happening?
I feel as though I brought this upon myself.
Beautiful. You are not harmed, Miss Appeline. You do. It's not like you fall or collapse or descend quickly. It's almost like it all slides and you slide with it a little just to land on top of this new pile, another 10, 15 feet down. You look up as though you're at the bottom of a well, seeing all these heads leaning over in the shadow to look down at you. Full moon behind it looks familiar. You see Charlie bring the flashlight up and they see you, and you see Miss Abilene. Cam, you arrive at this moment. She's not far. It's 10, 12 feet down or so. There's no physical damage.
Cam,
Albadine.
do you have you?
What
Is your? I'm
what are you
trying
looking
to think.
for?
Of,
Is it rope?
how do I say this in the right? I was going to say rope, or I was thinking. I mean, you have your weapon, so that would also be used as could be used as a stick to pick it up. But otherwise,
I mean, I'm quite good at climbing. I could just.
I mean, if you think you can do that,
Help!
also, I have no, and like you kind of actually get a chance to see Adrian, not a very, just like a pretty lithe individual, not much muscle on them at all. Is just kind of skin and bones a little
Doctors.
bit. Mm.
You've got a
I
gun. We
think
can use
Cam
that as a
says
stick.
that. I think he says doctors. I think at that point, Cam straps her rifle to her back and starts to climb down into where Miss Abilene has found herself.
Are you trained in climbing?
I am trained in climbing.
Wonderful. If you want to give me a roll, you're just trying to hit with it being trained. You're trying to hit 3. Like this is very hard to fail.
Is that a might? Would you say as well?
Yeah,
Not-
probably.
All right, I have an edge there too.
If you want to apply your edge, it's just free. You don't even have to
Yeah.
roll.
I kind of want to roll for it though. I'm not going to find mine. I just want to roll. All right, that is 7.
All right. Without much effort, you get down there. Miss Abilene, not hard to pick up to help up. The ground's a little unsturdy, like it shifts. You almost think you can see through the debris to the left and right where this space might become larger, as though maybe there was not an avalanche, like quicksand, some sort of open shaft in the ground, maybe an old thing with the mine, something like that. Something has happened. You do hear the building still shift and settle a little more as you're helping Miss Abilene, but nothing goes wrong. Nothing tries to attack you, Cam. Nothing seeks to destroy your life.
All right. I think I help Miss Abilene by essentially pushing it up from beneath. But I'm not quite intent on leaving the hole just yet. I want to make sure there's nobody else trapped down here. So I'm gonna shout up to the people above. Can I get some light, please?
And I think with the light on, you'll just see, like, very gently in a good spot, just dropped the flashlight.
Are you staying down here?
I want to make sure nobody else is trapped.
I'm not going to leave you alone.
Really, miss, it's quite all right. I don't think you
No.
should stay down here.
I don't think you should be alone.
I can handle myself, I promise. Really, you should go up. I'm sure they can use your skills keeping the people calm up above.
As
That's
Cam
true.
fights to be alone, Ed is alone. Ed, what are you hiding from out here at the edge of the wood? Why are you so far from town, Ed?
I think Ed, as scary as the wood might be, and the places he stays and dwells in, right? The wood at night and early morning fishing, as scary and unknown as that all might be. The wood and animals are predictable, and Ed knows that. People not so much, and Ed's never really Ed's hiding from the folks. You know, he trips kids.
He does.
So
Having heard a ruckus in the town from your drinking hole, would that have been something that drew you back to town for like a third time today, or is it head back home? It's too dark.
I think undoubtedly, I think Ed goes and checks it out more so because Ed is nosy by nature. He doesn't really. He's just, what's going on over here? And so I think he's begun to wander that way.
If something whistled to you from the wood, would you whistle back?
Under no circumstance would Ed whistle back.
Good, because then the two or three whistles you hear on your way to town don't move you to action, but you do hear them, Ed, and footsteps, but harder, more firm, in the periphery of the wood, not mirroring you because that would be terrifying, Ed, but just staying close by.
I think Ed is like, oh, well, I guess, and he's gonna take a bit of the small jar. Mason probably he kept a mason jar on him. I think he's just been hosting since Cam's left, and he just pours a little out in like a half circle behind him. He's like, that's all I have, so drink up, and just gonna keep walking.
Would you say you're drunk?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Has your Achilles tendon ever been severed?
No.
Fine. And you're moving through the woods. The moon isn't full, but neither are you. You're both sharing half light as you pass your way through the green. You keep hearing the tick, 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 little footsteps scattered, hard, firm. Tap shoes? No. Bone, maybe. Something more dense than skin. And your own feet, your own soggy soul leaves a certain sound as you move. And that's not what you hear from around you, Ed. It is quicker, it is sharper, it vanishes before you get too close to the town. It's been a day, Ed.
What's going on over here? And I'm gonna start just looking into
as
the
you
town.
approach the grand view, you see Ellen on the porch with a blanket, kind of looking, trying to catch eye of Cam. Cam and Miss Albeline still unseen at the moment, having maybe not climbed up the ladder quite yet. And Adrian Albadine, goddamn, Adrian Albadine, having now dropped the flashlight, standing by with medical care should it be needed.
Also reaching down for Abilene if she wishes to take it.
I am going to take Adrian's hand and go back up because, as Cam said, they do need my assistance up there. But before I go all the way up, I'm going to hand Cam my compass to help. If you look at this, it'll help you get back here in case you get lost.
Ta, you are cursed with silence because of witchcraft.
We love some witchcraft around here. Thank you kindly, miss. I appreciate that.
Miss Abilene, I don't know if you actually assigned the second experience point you actually received for the second GM intrusion. You can give it to whoever. It will build contempt between party members and stuff, so it's a real useful tool.
Mm-hmm,
I think it's the most fair that it goes to Cam, as we did this scene together. So that's how I'm just gonna do it.
I will
Perfect.
take it.
Ed, you
Makes
approach
sense.
into town seeing all this kind of, there's a little more light than there was a few minutes ago, people coming out of their homes. You walk past Ellen Yoko's porch, which would lead you to approaching the church.
Um, I think I would stop at Ellen Yoko to talk to her.
She does not notice you in this moment. Her gaze is currently looking over you to the church. Um,
Miss Yoko?
oh, hi.
Hi. Where'd the
Glad
church
to.
go?
And I don't know why you would ask an old woman that question.
You tend to be very wise and full of knowledge.
Everybody keeps assuming. I'm an
It's an
observer. I don't pry.
it's an age thing.
Oh,
Could
I
you both roll a
suppose.
d20 for me and let me know what number you get? You're trying to get
Um,
within 5 of each other.
I
I
got
got
a
a 1.
7.
So
6.
close.
Mm.
So close. As you were.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that you're not harmed in the whatever's going on over there. I guess it's a fire. I don't know. There's been a lot of yelling about the church. The church. I don't entirely know. Cam told me to stay here because it's dangerous, but
Why would you
I
stay here when you
worry.
could go there?
See, that's what I've been fighting this whole time, but I don't know if I could get over there by myself.
How about this? And I'm gonna. Would I be able to
Pick them up.
use? Actually, yeah. Is how I think Ed could do that. Could Ed partially carry Miss Yoko?
I probably wouldn't even require a roll if you would just look at them and be like, I could probably lift them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I put my hand out, and I think it looks like I'm just gonna like help you walk, and the minute you grab my hand, I just go for like the overhand like fireman's carry, like let's go, Miss
Mhm.
Yoko.
Just
Oh,
because of the unexpected proximity, I'd love you both to roll a d20 again. Same thing, but if not, this is your last chance for the day.
Want to say it at the same time?
okay.
3, 2, 1. 12.
19.
That's not the same time.
Wonderful. Nothing disturbs the path you are on, as Ed is carrying Ed and Ellen, the double
Uh-oh.
E's. Damn it! You're carrying them to town where the AAA and Cam are hanging out at the middle. Uh, Cam, what are you doing down here? The whole hard to paint you a picture. 10 feet across, but you can see gaps through the ruin that could maybe get you to larger areas. You would need to actively dig.
I need to actively dig. Well, I think my first order of business is I've got the flashlight. I want to know if there's anybody else down here. So I suppose I'm gonna just let's start with let's start with a nice yell. You know, I'm closer now than everybody else was. Maybe I can
Mhm.
hear something other people couldn't have heard. Um, so I'm gonna, I have my flashlight in hand. I'm gonna go. Anybody down here?
Ellen, if the words that Cam heard were in a whisper or a song, which do you think it would be?
A song.
Cam, you don't hear anything.
All right. I'm gonna, step a little closer to the rubble, see if I
Mhm.
can. Someone could have been knocked out, in which case that'd be quite troublesome for them. They wouldn't be able to respond back to me. So I might make a little hole just to see if I can peek inside the rubble with my flashlight.
You have found a small opening with your digging around. You might be able to squeeze through it, Cam, but you might not be able to get back out or move forward should it bend out of your vision.
Oh, I
But you
think
do
I
not
know better
hear
than that.
anybody. Like, no one seems to be yelling for you or anything of that sort.
I think I know a little better than to stick myself into a space in which I cannot easily back out of.
Hmm.
I know what it. I deal with traps all the time, and I know what it's like to be trapped. And I would rather not put myself into that situation.
When was the last time you felt trapped, Cam?
um, why? Just this past evening when I was in my mother's house.
What trapped you there
Mm,
besides yourself?
a sense of responsibility, duty that is not quite my own anymore, but I've held on to for too long to let it go now.
Do you have all your teeth?
I think I have most of my teeth. I think there was this one time where I was I was still a teenager, but I'd lost my baby teeth at that point. Um, so I was going around the creek a bit faster than I should have. I tripped on a rock and I did chip my two front teeth um, on a rock. It was very painful, and we didn't have a doctor at the time, so Miss Nana Ellen had to look after me. I was quite in a bad state about it.
Oh, don't worry, Cam. We were just asking about your teeth. You're fine. Nothing's happening to you.
Mhm.
Uh, Miss Abilene, you've been pulled up by Adrian. The Triple A's are at the top of the pit. The academics of the town, probably the two smartest people in the town of New Spring, to be honest. What does it look like happened? What would be some assumptions of the more educated? A cave in, a sinkhole, sabotage, insurance fraud,
You mentioned
divine
that there was sand, right?
in general?
Or you mentioned quicksand.
Oh, that was more of a descriptor of the action. This is like a
Understood.
mixture of stone and sand and
Hmm.
soil, would be a
Okay.
fair
Hmm.
mix. You can also give me a roll if you have a reason for it, and I'll tell you if you just figure something out.
I
Sorry for my
think
straw.
the
Oh,
conclusion I think Adrian has come to as of right now is that it was most likely an earthquake that was caused by mining, or there was old
Hmm.
abandoned mines and then the earthquake happened and then that caved it in. Something along those lines. That's at least kind of the theories that he is saying to the other people around from his, yeah.
Miss Abilene, you seem to be struck with an idea.
I did have an idea. So I know that this church has been rebuilt before, and I am also trained in both geography and history. So would I be able to assume that this area is just prone to earthquakes?
See that's actually very smart. Why don't we have you roll that just to see if there's an extra element you can learn? Um, and so, if you have an edge in intellect, which you do not, actually,
I
now that I
don't.
remember, perfect. But you are trained in that. So why don't you roll me a 9?
No. I'm not sure why my stats are the way that they are, but
Teachers, but there's just a
it was
big
a 12.
shortage. Beautiful. What comes to the closest to mind is that this building is exactly where the compass cross was when you saw Adrian Alberdine earlier drop a bunch of sand that resembled the town. It is burned into your mind, almost like that picture of looking up from a well when you were on your back, looking up at everyone staring down at you.
I think I'm a changed woman, Adrian. It's the witchcraft. It's the cross on the desk.
Um,
Adrian, you use
okay.
magic. Could it be
Yeah.
witchcraft?
It's definitely possible, but
Hmm.
that's not what they're wanting to tell the townsfolk to scare them. They don't
Hmm.
they don't want to cause a witch hunt when there's only 20 people in the town
And you're kind of a witch.
and I'm kind of a witch.
Yeah. Witch hunts are the worst because you might catch a witch.
Exactly. So that's if Abilene is starting to
I said that just to you, but I can't
okay,
help if
okay.
someone else overheard it.
That's true.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's the cross on the desk. The church.
That's easily a possibility, but we don't want to frighten everyone. And I'm tempted to do something, but also don't want to start shit. So just let's I don't know exactly what it meant. It felt off, but that also could be. And he kind of they just gesture to the ruins. We need to talk, but give me a little bit of time, okay? Before we start talking about it to everybody else.
Just tell him it was an earthquake.
Yes. Excuse me.
And Bonnabelle Kinson, who runs the Tannery Butcher, she shows up with some more people from the town. They've gotten like ropes together and some ladders, the few things. They have some blankets, and they heard there was an emergency. So they're all standing around looking. Are we missing anyone? Like, is it safer to just do this once the sun comes up? Like, the pastor's here, and you see an old guy with a blanket. He doesn't know why he has it, so he just put it on his shoulders, and he just kind of waves from the side. Is anyone missing anyone? Can any of you think of someone that you don't see? Is there anyone is concerned about? Does everyone have? Where's Bullet, Kim? Is Bullet with you, or did he stay on the porch? Just because they haven't been mentioned, I'm not trying to threaten Bullet. I'm more just curious.
So Bullet is at home. Cam didn't want him to get possibly caught up in whatever. That was a very loud sound. You know, don't want to potentially put Bullet in harm's way. So Cam left him at home. They're very much a case of, oh, Bullet wanted to come along. All right, I have to put your collar on, and I have to, you know, put your leash on and leash you to the bed so you don't, come chasing after me. Like very much that type situation.
Are you still in the hole, Cam?
I peeked in the hole that I made. I didn't see anybody. Nobody's yelling. I'm not going in there because that's a very small opening, and
So small.
Nana Ellen taught me better than that. So I'm gonna I'm gonna climb myself my way out of the hole. Yeah.
Without issue. The consensus seems to be of those around, like everyone seems fine. Like we shouldn't try to climb this in the dark. And there's a few people that just seem ready to do something. Like it's up late at night, they're hyped now. The whole church has collapsed. It's a kind of a block party of a sort. But we see all of you from the pullback view, with Ed carrying Ellen up, finally approaching, Cam ascending, and then the AAA is waiting there along the edge. All of you are within a few yards of each other for the first time today.
Excuse me.
Doctor, you might want to get that looked at,
Yes.
says someone.
I think it was the dust. Thank you, though. Just
Who blew up the church?
Ed, put me down, honey.
Oh,
earthquake.
sorry.
Earthquake.
Nana, what are you doing here? Ed.
She asked me to carry her.
I
She
was
asked you to
worried sick about you. You went into the danger zone, and I didn't know what was going to happen. There was so much yelling about the church, and it looked like there was fire. I needed to make sure you were okay.
I'm
And
all
we're
right,
supposed
Nana.
to dance tomorrow, so
Oh, are you?
yeah.
Nana, everything's fine. There's nobody in the hole. Everything's fine.
You went in the hole
Well,
by yourself.
The teacher, Miss Abilene, she fell into the hole. I rescued her, all right, and I just so
Okay.
happened as to, shout to see if there was anybody trapped under the rubble, and there wasn't anybody there. There was a hole. I could have crawled into it, but I didn't. I'm here now. Everything's fine.
You know, I'm glad at least some of the things I'm part of on you sticked. But
Yeah.
also, you should know better than do things like that by yourself.
Well, they weren't by themselves, they had a compass.
Right. Do you want that back?
Yes.
Here you go.
A compass is by yourself. It's not a person.
You know, I don't always agree with Ed, but here I agree with Ed.
I'm agreeable.
Well, let's not
Not
push it.
always.
I think everyone's fine. Nobody is missing anybody. We should maybe
that we
leave
know
the lead
of.
up to the morning.
Yes, I think that might be wise.
Don't want to risk anybody else getting hurt.
Maybe someone
Potentially.
should stay out here just in case someone wakes up in the rubble.
It
and
looks
asks for
like
help.
there's a few townsfolk that are kind of like, if you want to dig, we'll dig. And then most are like, we'll go to bed. So it's actually up to y'all what the town does.
Well, I think it'd be smart just to keep an ear out in case somebody starts yelling from down there
Or whistling, yeah.
or whistling. Don't whistle back.
How do you feel, Ed?
How do I feel?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, I've been warmer.
Oh yeah. All right. That's good. Good to hear. I don't see the harm in somebody potentially keeping watch, making sure nobody else falls into the hole, or if anybody else does wake up in the hole, then
Yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to walk back home right now, so I can go ahead and just keep watching in town.
I think that's a splendid idea.
Yeah.
What do you two think,
Uh,
Doctor?
Smarty pantses.
I am exhausted. There was a lot of other research done today as well. Watch is a good idea. I don't think we should touch anything until we can see it in the daylight. It'll just be more cleansing that way. Yes, and I also, uh, yes, I need sleep, and we'll kind of nod goodnight to everybody and like walk off to go back to bed because they've been up for a long time.
Before you retire, real quick,
Yes.
Adrian, the tea you drank the cup from, it was the same
Yeah.
cup you put the sand into for a moment, right?
Yes.
Perfect. As you're heading to your house, you have a little scratch on your shoulder. Back to the group. Uh, what is Ed? Are you going to walk all the way back home tonight? Is this just what Ed does every day? Is just the back and forth, back and forth?
I think typically he does, but tonight I don't think he's allowed to walk back home to the woods, so he's gonna stay by here and listen for anybody in the rubble just in case.
You're going to camp out here. Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. Miss Abilene and well, the Triple A's don't live that far from where you are. Like if you were standing on the church hill, you could see both of their houses fairly easily. Cam and Ellen, well, Ellen's fairly close too, just in the other direction.
Yeah. I mean, I think Cam walks Nana home and starts to walk home herself, but then sighs and thinks better of it and walks back to where Ed is camping out. And just camps out with him.
Hey.
Hi, Ed.
Hi.
Hi. I figured probably could use 2 sets of ears.
Yeah, I mean sometimes mine only work half the time, so it's nice to have a second set.
That's true. I know this about you.
You
It's gonna be a
do.
long night.
It is because I'm not very tired, but and then I pull out like the thing of moonshine, but I have more of this.
Thank God.
Pulling back for a moment. At Cam's isolated home, we see the door unlatch from the outside. Someone opens it. Our view is close to the ground, and we see two sharp hooves, black and pointed, in front of the door as it opens. There's hair There's no clothing. We see fur, but just two hind legs. Bullet comes out and starts playing around, and then the front arms of Bullet are not there, and we just see two back pairs of animal looking legs as they seem to dance and play in your front yard space before Bullet is back on all fours and tucked into your home, the door safely latched. No harm done to anyone. In our next session, we will begin with all of you dreaming separately tonight. But I think for tonight, we're just about to wind down the introduction of our story. Two of you camping next to the fallen church in the middle of town. Camping of a sort, drunk in public is, I guess, the modern way of putting that. Miss Abilene, the Triple A's lined up just as their buildings are to the west of the church hill. And Ellen Yoko, do you go to bed or do you sleep on the porch, Ellen?
I stay out on the porch tonight.
Knowing Cam is over there, just
Correct.
wonderful. A bit of moonlight glances off a ring tied to a braid of hair. Um, a dog somewhere wishes somebody would come home. The world is normal. It's been a normal day. This is just life and the struggle for it out here at the edges of civilization. It's supposed to belong to the green. None of you are really supposed to be here, but you are. And I want to say thank you to all of our amazing listeners, viewers, readers tonight, and all the donations. We hit the goal. There's going to be a raffle. I kind of want to give another book away next time. So we'll probably do that again. Um, I would love if to my players to tell everyone about yourselves for a second. I'll go last. Let's do that. I'll just go last. Let's go in the original introduction. No, wait. I have things I'm supposed to read, everybody. I have things on all these papers right here I'm supposed to get to before we do all of that. Yes, before we talk about all of you, I'm going to talk about the amazing things coming on this channel very quickly. Nerds with Dice has I'm gonna drop the accent. Nerds with Dice has an open casting call for MetaHuman Rising, and you can find the sign up sheet on Twitter or in their Discord. The game is scheduled. The game schedule is very full for October, so tune in. October 10th, there's the return of Ironsworn the Valley. October 14th, Eastern Skies of Fortune. October 17th, 24th, Eastern for Monsters of the Week with Irvi. This was a copy paste, so I didn't miswrite any of that. I don't know what that is, but I hope Irvi does a great and fantastic job. October 29th at 8 p.m. is 10 Candles, and October 30th is Monster of the Week with Casper. So keep your eyes open for all these incredible games. Nerds with Dice is always having casting calls. And if you have any games you want to run, you can just fill out their creator application and ask them if you can run it on their channel. So I hope I did good with all of that. I definitely want to thank our amazing producer who saved our asses a bit with being able to come through tonight and doing a fabulous job. Let's go in our order of intro with Adam, Ed, and his soggy soul. If you would like to tell us about you, do you have a name? What do you do? Did your podcast win a crit award? Stuff like that.
You're also muted.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, I
The
have to mute myself
celebrities.
because when Rara talks, I get so excited. I just make like a constant squealing noise. Anyways, I'm Adam. I do TTRPG stuff. I've lately been all over the place. It's really cool. But mainly you can find me over at an AP called 5 GMs in a Trench Coat, where I work with Kim. We're kind of the creators and editors, and we do a lot of the stuff.
Power couple.
I do specifically. I do most of the outreach. If you're getting a message, just like you want to come play with us, that's me. And
You do the fun part.
I do the fun part. Yeah.
Nice.
No, it's I dread it. I'm like, this person's gonna be like, get out of my DM. I'm like, I'm sorry. But I'm Adam. I do all kinds of AP stuff. I'm Five Gyms and Trench Coat, which is a fun actual play podcast where we cycle through all kinds of different things. Like I said, you can find me all over the place. And yeah, I'll pass it to who's next.
Who did go second? I think that was Cam. Cam, what's your name? Do you have one?
Luckily, I do have one. Hi, everybody. I'm Tot. I am the writer and producer of the actual play audio drama fusion Soul Operator. So you can catch me on that. I'm also known to haunt the audio drama and TTRPG spheres online. I voice act in several other audio dramas. Recently, I was in The Heart is a Dungeon's audio drama, which you can listen to now.
That comes
and
out Thursday, Todd. That comes
It
out.
comes out
I mean,
Thursday.
sorry, Sunday. Sunday.
It comes
No,
out
wait,
Sunday.
tomorrow. Sorry, it comes out tomorrow. I'm making a lot of
We
stuff.
totally know our schedules.
Nobody can get mad at me because even Rara didn't know when it was.
It comes out tomorrow.
I've also been in a couple different APs. You can also catch me on more of the Heart is a Dungeon stuff, as well as some roll D5.
D5.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's me. I'm so busy.
Very busy.
Creepy.
Soul Operator, Five Gyms and Trenchcoat, amazing shows. Third, who went third? Was it our teacher or was it our doctor?
It was our teacher. I was second to last.
Miss Abilene, do you have a name?
I do have a name. Hello, I am Taz. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at Reader and Rogue. I usually stream as Clover on Forging Fates at the New Age Geek channel. On Monday nights, we play D&D, and it's really hard. It's not a lot of fun lately. It's really heartbreaking. My character's going through a lot, and if you like seeing people be sad, come watch me.
That's how I made all my friends in school. All right, and then the double A of the triple A, Adrian
The
Albertini.
ACA, if you want to get there. But hi, I'm Selena. You can find me at ABCDFAR on the Twitter and Instagram. I don't really post or do anything with them, but you can find me there. You can also find me on a couple guest spots on The Heart is a Dungeon, and the occasional editing audio stuff of just me kind of working on some projects on my own. But yeah, that's me.
Let's see if Kim gets a turn. All right. Ellen, Yoko, do you have a name? What do you do?
You know, sometimes I have a name. Hi, I'm Kim. You can mostly find me over on Five Gyms in a Trench Coat, which Adam did not do a good job of pitching, so I'm going to pitch to you now. We are a Crit Award winning TTRPG podcast where we rotate GMs and systems each season. We have our third season coming up on Monday. Yes, folks, you heard it here. We're actually doing D&D. This is probably going to be our only D&D main series we're ever doing, to be totally honest with you. Probably not. I don't know. But if you like D&D 5e, if you like, it's kind of got some like body horror and things going on. You didn't hear that from me.
I'd
it's
say
good.
pseudo gothic. Sorry.
Pseudo goth. That's a good way to put it. Pseudo gothic, just
Hot
in time for
topic, yeah.
October. Yeah. Just in time for October. So if you are interested, tune in on Monday. That's coming out everywhere you get your podcasts. Otherwise, you can just follow me at Dew on a Tree. That is DEW on a tree. I guest star on things. I've been on a couple Hard as a Dungeon things. Robert keeps asking me to be on things, and I keep saying yes. So you know, here I am.
That's how these things happened.
That's how
Yeah,
it
he
works.
just-
Yeah.
You want to be on a thing? And I'm like, sure, I guess, if you really want me to. And yeah, that's me.
And coming of that, I'm Rara. I run a little fledgling podcast called The Heart is a Dungeon. We're about 10 and a half months old, finally getting our footing. I win a couple things, but never for GMing. So that's fine. I'm more of an audio goblin, and it's a great, sad show. We have a mostly BIPOC cast of 26. this season, so I'm a little bit of a cast juggler. And what we're doing is different and lovely. I will be so bold as to say. What else has been lovely has been our producer today, who we can see, but you can't see, because they have done a fabulous job and made all of this possible. I want to thank everyone for donating once again. We will get to the winner if we haven't announced. We'll announce the winner. I don't know if we have yet. I don't think we have.
We
What?
did.
Adam, you just set up family for everything.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole reason I do anything I do. Yeah.
Gremlin Froggy drew the character art for all of the characters in this campaign, actually. Congratulations. We're going to give another one away next week, I think. The PDFs are pretty cheap. I'm just going to do it. Gremlin can't win the next one. And for those listening, next week we will have the whole cast. The week after that, we will not have Kim and Adam. And then the week after that, Kim and Adam will be back, but Tot will be gone. So that is the way things work when you have amazing tables filled with busy people. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. I hope this was fun. And if not, like maybe you should, think about yourself and try to have fun in more simple places, like the Appalachians. I'm going to close this before I keep talking. Good night, everybody. We're going to raid another channel momentarily. It's coming up probably pretty soon. Did you hear the one about the magician that drove down the drive? Are we good? Nope. Drove down the street and turned into a driveway.